Hi, I'm Jill Galloway. I'm an artist educator at the Smithsonian's National Portrait Gallery. In today's Drawn to Figures lesson, we're talking about group portraits. Now, group portraits is a tricky business for artists, so we're going to talk about some of the tips and tricks that artists use to make group portraits look realistic. Okay, let's get started.
A group portrait is just what it sounds like, a portrait with a group of people in it. In our American Origins exhibition, we have one of my favorites. It's called Men of Progress. In this painting, we see 19 inventors and scientists who, through their discoveries, altered the course of our country's progress. This painting was commissioned, which means paid for, by Jordan Mott, who in 1857 invented the coal-burning stove. You can see him here in this portrait. This scene never actually took place. The artist first created a sketch of each subject separately before putting them together in this final piece. When it comes to painting group portraits, it's tricky business. You have to make sure it looks like each figure has depth and takes up a space in the room. They need to look like one person is actually in front of the other, even though they're all being painted on a flat or 2D surface. If we look at these three men, Isaiah Jennings invented dental tools. He's clearly behind Thomas Blanchard, who invented a tacking machine, which is like tiny little nails. And he's situated between Jennings and Elias Howe, who invented a sewing machine. Behind all three of them is Erastus Bigelow, who invented the carpet loom. As these figures move back into the room, they become slightly less focused or crisply painted. In a group portrait, the light source on each figure must be consistent. In other words, if the light is pouring in from the window on the right-hand side of this painting, then all of the figures must have light on that side of their face, or the side angled towards the window. Now look closely at this group of characters. In the back, in shadow, with his back to the window, is John Ericsson, who invented the propeller, Frederick Ellsworth Sickles, whose invention contributed to the steam engine, and Henry Burden, who made several innovations with iron, including a horseshoe machine. There are no bright highlights on their faces like you see in the other sitters. Look at John Henry, who invented the earliest electric motor. He's tucked in and leaning back behind the outstretched arm of Peter Cooper, who founded the Cooper Union for the Advancement of the Arts and Sciences. Sitting in front is Charles Goodyear, who invented rubber. Look closely. Notice the upside-down shoe near his seat. When you work on group portraits, you have to be very careful about proportions. No doubt, some of these men were bigger or smaller than others. The artist would have needed to come up with some sort of standard measurement to make sure he got all of their proportions right. Notice how this grouping of men are all about the same size, and in fact, they're standing in very similar poses. In the far back is Joseph Saxton, who invented the fountain pen, and then Dr. William Thomas Green Morton, who invented anesthesia. Also, James Bogardus, who invented the first fireproof building, and the next sitter is Samuel Colt. See if you can find the Colt revolver sitting nearby. Now this sitter is named Cyrus McCormick. McCormick invented the mechanical reaper. You can see a model of it on the floor by his feet. The reaper harvested crops, freeing up manual laborers to work in factories, expanding the Industrial Revolution. This painting is big. It's just over 6 feet wide and almost 4.5 feet tall. It's packed with details all around each of these characters. It took the artist between 4 and 5 years to complete the painting. Taking in the whole composition, imagine you were standing in the room with these men. What do you think it would sound like? You would first imagine a lot of noise because there's a lot of people there. But do you see anyone actually talking? Look at Dr. Olufale Nott. He invented the base of the burning stove, and it looks like he's just doing some serious thinking here, but definitely not talking. Or how about these two? Samuel Morse, who invented the electric telegraph, like the model on the table, has turned around to seemingly want to say something to Robert Hoe, who invented the revolving press, but neither man is actually talking. Another interesting part of this painting is that image hanging on the wall in the back of the room. Do you recognize that character? The artist Christian Schussele painted another group portrait in our collection. This is titled Washington Irving and His Literary Friends at Sunnyside. Do you see the similarities between the two portraits?
Thanks so much for joining me for today's Drawn to Figures lesson. I hope you learned something, and if you're going to tackle some group portraits, we would love to see those results. If you wouldn't mind sharing your images on social media with the hashtag MyMPG, then we can all check them out. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.